Now, I know I did a live game video just a couple of days ago on the YouTube channel already, but I'm so happy to know that a lot of you are enjoying these live games as well. I used to do them very regularly. If you subscribed to the channel a couple of years ago, you may remember that I uploaded live gameplay of me playing the ladder with the Zerg pieces for probably like, I would probably do a couple of weeks, like a couple of weeks, every single week. It was kind of crazy. And over time, I just sort of, you know, started doing other videos and I started uploading less live games, but I really want to get back into it because I'm glad to know that so many of you are enjoying them as well. Regardless though, this time around, I got a Zerg versus Terran for you right here. So that means that we are indeed not going up against a Zerg, and this matchup is quite a bit differently than the one that I uploaded recently. I'm actually really liking Zerg versus Terran right now. For the longest time, Zerg vs. Terran was all about bio, or, you know, obviously we had mech players as well that would mostly just turtle up and never really attack. Recently, however, with the new patch, I've been seeing a ton more mech play. Up to the point where mech was almost the gold standard and bio was all of a sudden a rare possibility just because of the fact that the Infestor was a little bit more powerful than it was in the past. Now, they have since nerfed the Infestor a little bit once again. Right now, you are no longer capable of casting fungal growth while burrowed. And that all of a sudden means that bio and mech are getting played pretty much evenly right now on the ladder as far as it goes this week. I mean, I wonder what the standard will become, but I wouldn't mind it if we see like 50% mech out of a Terran and 50% biological-based armies instead. So what I mean with that, of course, with mech, I mean, you know, Siege Tank, Thor, Hellbat kind of compositions. And with bio, I mean like Marine, Medevac, Widowmine, those kinds of unit composition. I would really not mind seeing a 50-50 split between the two. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that they almost play like completely different matchups. You cannot treat bio like you can play mech, or like you can treat mech if you were a Zerg player and the other way around. You definitely do want to respond differently to both of those kinds of unit compositions, depending on what you're going up against. The nice thing is, however, that you can still play Hydraling Bane every single game if you want to. So at the very least, we got that going for us. Regardless, though, I'm going up right now against a guy called Drunken SCV. He's a very good player. Played a handful of games against him in the past already. He always strikes me as a macro-based guy. Just trying to pick up, trying to pick here on top of the ramp, trying to see what's going on. Looks like we have indeed that very quick reactor by my opponent, so he may very well be trying to go for indeed that factory play here already at this point in the game. Very normal. Doesn't necessarily indicate that he's going to be playing mech, but it does mean that he's going to be making quite a lot of mechanical units here in the earlier part of the game to potentially do a little bit of harassment. Let's follow it up with 2 more queens. I'm going to get an overlord right now as well. And if I can, I want to go for a quick third base here in just a little bit too. Trying to peek in and out here. I want to know if he's got a starport follow-up coming in or if he's planning to do, say, double factory. There's a handful of builds that we do have to keep in mind here. But spreading creep is going to be a very important thing too. So we do see a tech lab right here, and there indeed is the starport. So we know exactly what we're going up against right now. Let's go ahead and take a third base. I'm going to start spreading some creep. Oh wow, I didn't realize that he was actually inside of my base. Ooh, looks like he will be able to just barely slip away there. Nicely done there by him. But let's go ahead and get that third base up and running here as early as we possibly can. Now, of course, having the tech lab on the starport indicates that he can go for Banshees. But more often than not, actually, I've found people to open up with like a Viking or a Medevac first as well before they really get any kind of cloak going. It's rather interesting, actually, because we do see players mixing and matching those kind of strategies for a while now. Also, I am currently not seeing... Hold up. 1 second. I'm not seeing any kind of... Yeah, there we once again do see the Viking. I'm not seeing my opponent go for any kind of shenanigans so far with the Hellions. So this is kind of an indication that he's got Hellions out more than likely. But if he's not moving with them, he may very well be saving them up to go for one big push. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself that Roach Warren. Let's go ahead and build a Spore as well in the mineral line. This is kind of the thing with that tech lab. I am forced to build a Spore, even though it may not necessarily be the case that my opponent is actually going to be doing anything with this. It's one of the nice advantages. But there indeed we do see now the units coming in. Let's get another queen over there. And the reason, of course, why I'm going, by the way, for such a quick lair, so I can go ahead and get myself an Overseer here as well as Roach Speed. I can also go for Banelings, kind of depends on what you prefer. But creep spread is becoming a really, really important thing in this matchup either way. Whether or not you're playing against mech or not, doesn't really matter all too much. You gotta make sure that you get your creep spread done. Let's go ahead and get another overlord or another queen over here in the main as well. And I want to start droning up this base if I can. Need to get myself a spore over here as well, though. So far, not seeing a third base just yet. Dancing, dancing, dancing. Apparently there's a third command center right now at the front, which is a big indication that he is not going to be pushing just yet. Although he can obviously do a little bit of pressure here if he wants to. It's not going to be like a 2-base all-in or whatever. Let's go ahead and defend against this guy, first and foremost. And usually they're going to try and push in at 2 angles at once, so I'm leaving my army right there in the corner. Very good. Let's go ahead and get myself Evo chambers right now as well. And we can indeed continue droning here for just a little while longer. So already we're up to 64 workers. Haven't really taken any kind of critical damage whatsoever. Although I am once again going to be forced to get myself at least some new tumors there, because apparently my opponent is being a little bit annoying with it. Got a Hellion at least. Okay. Getting myself some additional gases right now. Saturating this one right over here as well. And we'll take the base, I think, in the bottom left-hand corner as our next expansion. That does mean, of course, that I need to get some creep spread over here once again as well. And we'll just continuously spread more and more creep here. I'm going to do a bit of a push across the map just to try and test the waters a little, see what's going on. I do have plenty of workers right now, though, which is nice. I can even go for a double expend if I really want to. I haven't seen any siege tanks just yet, but... Well, speaking of which... I got a siege tank for my troubles. So it does look like he's going to be playing bio here. Okay, let's go ahead and get a Baling Nest then. And I can go ahead and start my upgrades right at around this point in time as well. Bio armies do require a little bit of a different response, while I can still play Hydraling Bane if I want to. And I think that is indeed what I'm going to be doing here. It is a good idea for me to still spread as much creep as possible, just to make sure that that bio army cannot just simply maneuver across the map whenever it pleases. Let's also get some melee upgrades here. And I do need that Baling Nest really early, actually. I should have probably already had that one done. Fort base, however, right now is finishing up. We are at about 80 workers, which is the exact amount you need if you want to continuously make more and more units. 80 workers is actually kind of the sweet spot, because it allows you to continuously throw away armies as well, and then rebuild them quickly enough in a suitable amount of time. Got a lot of queens, by the way. I'm actually going to put them all in one hotkey group here next. I think at this point, though, it's time for me to start spreading units as well towards the different corners of the map. So rather than leaving all of my units in one big clump inside of the main base, well, actually, I may need to push a little bit more. Yeah, okay, I was going to say, like, rather than leaving all of my units in one big clump, it's important for me at this point to spread them out all over the bases as well. Just because there's a good chance my opponent is going to start double dropping from here on out. So whenever you're leaving your units close to your own base, it's probably better to spread them out between the different bases that you have. And just look at your mains, right? And look at the bases you have and try and decide where your most droppable location is. And for me right now, that's definitely the main and the fort base right here in the corner. Just a little tip that has helped me a ton in all of the matchups. There's no particular reason to have them all in one big clump. Don't even really need to hotkey everything either. My opponent is trying desperately to spread some creep, but I think it's already spreading. By the way, I'm playing very defensive right here, right? As you may have already noticed. I'm trying to go up to a hive right now. Not really doing any kind of run-bys or whatever, which I actually really like playing nowadays. Just simply playing a straight-up focus macro kind of game, waiting for him to move to me. Now, if I'm about to max out, though, I am still going to make a bit of a push as well. And we are actually just about to max out, and I think that he may very well be pushing to me, which is much appreciated. It's much easier to defend. Let's go ahead and get another base while this is going on. Let's see if we can do a little bit of pressure. Trying to manually move in with my banelings. Still have a lot of hydralisks left over. For some reason, my baneling speed never started. I guess I never clicked it properly. And this is actually doing a lot more damage than it was supposed to. Mostly does, you know, queens, I guess, which is a little annoying. Not too big of a deal there, because I still had a lot of them left over anyway. I still have 5, even after losing that many. I should have had baneling speed out for a while, too. I should have had baneling speed out for a while, though, at this point in the game. Okay. Opponent is currently making a move right now towards the bottom left-hand corner as well as the top right. Or the bottom right. Gonna try and get in there. Backing up. Siege tanks are just now sieging. This buys me time. And if I can, I want to get up a bit of a surround. Oh god, nope, don't do that. Ultra Cavern is currently coming in. +2/+2 is just about to finish as well. Is he gonna be retreating? No, not yet. Although right now he's caught in a bit of a weird angle. I think I'm gonna do a push. Just because he's getting surrounded right now and he's been on creep for a long time. Target firing down the Metavex. Very good. Let's go ahead and start up the chitinous plating upgrade, which is hugely important. And this base right now is also done. So that means that I can go ahead and continue spreading more creep here. Once again, I want to leave part of my army on the other side. Did lose a couple of my queens, so I'm actually going to be forced to rebuild those. That's alright. Adrenal glands is done. Chitinous plating and whatnot are coming in, or is coming in right now. Very good. Dealt with that. Getting a couple of ultras. And we're going to be continuing this aggression here for a little while longer. I'm just a little bit worried for that dropship inside of the base. The banelings right there are not in the ideal position, as you may have already guessed. Still have a lot of units left over, though. Got a lot of supply currently tied up in ultras that are still on the production tab. Okay, let's go. I think we have enough. Judging by this setup here, target firing down individual siege tanks. There we go. Now this is kind of the point in Zerg vs Terran where I personally struggle. You can see that I'm getting too much gas income. I don't think I want to get the gases at these bases. But sometimes I find myself with too little gas. It's kind of a funny little back and forth where I'm usually the one that is going to be in a little bit of trouble. I should get a Spire right now as well, though, just because we are transitioning towards late game. I'm happy with my play up to about the 10-minute mark. That's where I'm mostly focusing my progress on right now. I think I need to work on my game after the 10-minute mark, because right now we're starting to fall a little bit apart here as far as, like, income and whatnot goes. I think I need to expand a little bit more aggressively. So let's go ahead and get the base here in the center as well. I haven't done any kind of harassment here purposefully. Just because I know that I don't necessarily need to. Got a lot of ultras though. Ultras are pretty good. Do need them in the front. There's actually a lot of marauders in his army composition right now as well for my opponent. And with my ultras derping around in the back there, that wasn't quite the ideal scenario to be in. Interestingly enough, I haven't seen any kind of liberators yet. This is kind of the standard switch right now, but... Also, keep in mind, I'm not currently defending this side of the map at all. So my overlords here in the top right are rather important. Okay, let's see what we can do. If he's currently going to be moving back. Oh, he's going to go for ghosts. Very interesting. Once again, that was not the ideal engagement. I should manually box my ultras to the front. Would be way cleaner. I'm going to need a lot more banelings as well, though, against this kind of composition. 3-3, not quite done just yet. Just about to finish, though. Let's get +1 missile as well. And we're going to need some units to scout. got a lot of units, though. Woo! These ghosts are great. Okay, did end up losing the base there, but I already have a newly acquired one here as well. I quite like the Ghost switch, though. Ghost, of course, did get a small little buff recently. He's currently pushing towards this side of the map as well. I think I needed to get a lot more banelings there, and my engagements just simply were a little bit off. Haven't quite lost yet, but we are at a point right now where my opponent is just capable of doing whatever he pleases. And these ghosts are still going to be cloaked, which is pretty annoying. Okay. Did manage to defeat that area of the map at least. I think if you're going up against ghosts, you probably want to go back to Hydraling Bane. Because I don't think I really want to focus on the other units right now. He did end up killing a lot of my units though, and at this point I don't really have any proper way of continuing onwards with droning, right? I'm going to need another base here. But this is what I mean though. This is where I mostly struggle. I think this is a perfect example of where I mostly struggle in the Zerg vs Terran matchup. So I purposely didn't go for any kind of harassment here. But I am at a point right now where I felt like I was in dominant control of the early game, and then we just sort of, you know, we just sort of fell apart. Right? And this is where I'm currently trying to fix my game. This is where I'm currently trying to improve. Now, we aren't out of this game yet, but I do have to be careful about this setup because there's a good chance my opponent is going to be able to continue harassment here for a while longer. He's going to be pushing into the center right now as well. The Liberator switch is coming in now too. And this is where the scary part of this game happens. The mass air switch is terrifying, and I think that with this continued harassment from my opponent and him having pretty much his entire side of the map taken, it's time for me to, well, at least shortly GG out of this game and jump into the replay. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the replay and let's figure out whether or not my analysis was accurate. Was I indeed ahead for the first 10 minutes or so of the game? The main issue that I feel like I'm running into in most of my macro-based Zerg vs Terrans is that whenever I let the Terran player macro, and once again I did so on purpose in this particular game, I didn't harass him at all on purpose, just because I've seen a lot of pro gamers do the exact same thing and they just simply overwhelm the Terran eventually. I feel like I was in control for like the first 10 or so minutes of the game, didn't really miss very much then. But afterwards we just sort of started falling apart in the later stages of the game, and that is totally an okay issue to have. At the very least, being aware of it is already half the game, right? So early game, I tried squeezing out as many workers as possible. So let's keep an eye out right there on the Harvester count. Ideally, as a Zerg, you build up to about 70 to 80 or so workers before you really start making any kind of solid army. Creep spread seemed on point as well. I had a fort base taken way before my opponent. We did a little bit of harassment damage here and there. And right now, we are arrived at a point where I am feeling in utter control of this game. Because not only did I just finish up droning for this point, I've also got economy coming in. And while my upgrades were probably a little bit later, I think that so far, things seemed pretty solid. Right? So far, things seemed pretty good. Now, for some odd reason, right? We still ended up losing this game. So let's try and figure out what happened past the 10-minute mark. Because right now, you can see, right? I'm at 82 workers. I've got a ton of economy. I haven't done any kind of harassment. Once again, I don't think I necessarily need to, as long as I can just simply crush his army. What happened and why did we not manage to crush his army? I think there's a couple of things. First off, my upgrades were late, okay? Right now, I'm only starting up 2-2. My opponent is finishing up 2-2. This is something that I've been purposely delaying a little bit recently, once again, because I've seen a lot of pro gamers do that. But I think my Evo chambers in this game were very late. So he's hitting a timing right now with +2. Secondly, I also didn't necessarily micro my engagements very well. I think I did a decent job controlling all of the drop play, and I think I did a decent job dealing with my opponent's forces initially. But when the Ultras came out and whatnot, they just sort of stood behind my Hydras and didn't really get into the engagement until they were dead. So there we go. I decide to pounce on this opportunity as my opponent gives me a nice little connection here. And once again, right at this moment in the game, we are in solid control of this game. Now sadly, I'm not quite able to go for a counterattack. Reason for that is that my opponent does a double drop here in the main base. So he wasn't even necessarily planning on dealing a lot of damage with his main army. It was mostly a distraction. So once again, I'm trying to go up to a lot higher tech of an army, right? I still got a lot of units and a lot of drones and whatnot here. 70 plus is definitely the correct way to go. Do not get caught off guard. And I also managed to deal with this army right over here very nicely after playing it quite patiently. And patience was one of the... Like, if you watched my videos about a year or so ago, I kept mentioning patience. Patience is one of the things that I've struggled with for the longest time. I always jumped on every opportunity that I could get. Having a little bit of patience and letting your opponent, you know, unsiege or letting him come on the creep and whatnot is a massive advantage. So we shut this one down pretty nicely as well. Now here's where things just simply go way south, right? And how could I have fixed that? First off, I think I should get my Evo chambers much faster. Probably around the time that I started up the lair, I wanted to start up another gas as well and start up at least the carapace upgrades. Upgrades on ultras in the late game are just simply so very powerful. If you get the maxed out upgrades, they just simply don't take nearly as much damage. So I think I needed to start up one Evo and one gas a little bit sooner. And I've noticed a lot of players do that as well. Next up, I should probably start incorporating at least some Zergling run-bys and whatnot here and there. Also though, while we were in this game, I wasn't entirely sure what to do against the Ghost play. I mentioned as well that I didn't see any Liberators yet, and I already got the Spire up before I even saw any of them. The reason for that is because Liberators usually come out quite a bit sooner. So I was going up against Ghosts, which are a decent counter to Ultras, I feel like. But I wasn't entirely sure how to respond to that. I think right when I saw the first Ghost, I should have had a lot more Banelings out and immediately started... I probably wanted to have a lot more Banelings out and immediately started jumping out, you know, out of the Ultralist tech altogether, right? I needed to crush the Ghost first. Next up, another issue that I was running into at this point in the game is that I got too much gas. I don't think I want to get the 4th base even with 2 gases, maybe 1 gas, and I don't think I need to get the gases at the 5th at all. I'm just simply getting too much gas. Like, look right now in the top right corner. I got way too much gas compared to my amount of minerals. I need to be prioritizing minerals at this point, because Zerglings are the primary reinforcement troop right at this point in the game. I don't have any Banelings with this army either, so I felt like I played well until the 10-minute mark, but from here on out, I'm just playing a little bit sloppy. We're starting to fall apart. I mean, I'm morphing in Banelings in the middle of the engagement, and while I'm going to be able to, once again, like, deal with this as well, this is definitely an engagement that my opponent is coming out ahead in. Well, maybe not necessarily this one, but, like, you can see that my opponent, at the very least supply-wise, has managed to catch up for a while, and if he's gonna be able to mine off of 5 bases, like at this point in the game, if you're not gonna harass as a Zerg player throughout the game whatsoever, I should have already crushed him. We should have already been all over his units and then counterattack and pounce at the opportunity. Instead, we are sort of just scrambling by and scraping by. That's not how we want to be. So I think I needed to build up to 80 workers or so, get up and running on this 5th base, maybe get 1 gas less at the 4th as well. And then go from there. I think if we managed to pull something like that off, we would be in a significantly better position. Because from here on out, my opponent is just simply gonna... He's just simply gonna be able to overwhelm me, right? And that's kind of what we run into. I mean, I still had a way of coming back here. If I were to be able to, like, look at this. Look at the Ultra right there in the back. Ugh! That hurts my Zerg soul just simply seeing that. I could have even added on more Queens. Queenling Hydra... or Queenling Banerotter would have been really sick. I don't need all these gas. The gas is a complete waste. And the thing is, I know it, right? But since I'm managing so many things at once, while actually talking and playing at the same time, it's so tricky to actually focus on that actively. Really well played there, though, by my opponent. Definitely playing it out smartly. I'm gonna actually send him a message after this, see if he's maybe up for some more practice games. I think that would be very helpful. Because he plays the kind of style that I think is very strong for Terran players, and the one that I personally struggle against the most. Regardless though, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you did and you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. Other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile or write, and I will see you in the next one.